Artificial intelligence is driving one of the most profound labor disruptions in human history. 92 million, 300 million exposed to automation. And 41% of employers are actively planning to shrink their workforces because of artificial intelligence.
50,000 federal jobs lost in 2025 alone.
Undergrads who say finding a job will be hard.
Earlier this year found that roughly 40% of companies from around the world,
41% of employers are considering workforce reduction.
The overall labor market currently appears bleak.
Reduce our total workforce as we get efficiency gains using AI.
U.S. labor market appears to be stalling.
This is the story of AI job displacement. From the first machines that shattered looms in 18th century England to the generative AI tools reshaping white-collar work right now in 2026. And it raises a question humanity has been asking for over 200 years. What economists call technological unemployment, but has never needed to answer quite this urgently. What happens when machines don't just replace our muscles, but our minds? The anxiety started a long time ago. In 1764, James Hargreaves invented the spinning jenny, one of the first major mechanized tools in the textile industry. It could do the work of several spinners at once. Within decades, automated looms were transforming English factories, and the workers who depended on those jobs fought back hard. Between 1811 and 1816, displaced textile workers launched what became known as the Luddite Rebellion, burning factories and smashing machines. Roughly 50,000 workers lost their jobs across the textile sector. The Luddites weren't irrational. They were watching their livelihoods evaporate in real time. And here's the thing history taught us. Those jobs did disappear, and new ones emerged in their place. The factories needed operators, supervisors, mechanics, salespeople, and entire industries rose from the ruins of the old ones. This pattern, what economists Acemoglu and Restrepo called the reinstatement effect, held remarkably steady for 2 full centuries. Machines displaced workers, and then the economy generated new roles that hadn't existed before. In 1930, the economist John Maynard Keynes gave this cycle a new name. He called it technological unemployment, and he described it as a new disease, but crucially, only a temporary phase of maladjustment. In his essay, Economic Possibilities of Our Grandchildren, Keynes wrote, "We are being affected with a new disease of which some readers may not yet have heard the name, but of which they will hear a great deal in the years to come, namely, technological unemployment." This means unemployment due to our discovery of means of economizing the use of labor, outrunning the pace at which we could find new uses for labor. And for the most part, Keynes was right. The maladjustment was temporary. Through the mid-20th century, management theorists confidently predicted computers would gut the ranks of clerical workers. Instead, clerical employment nearly doubled between 1947 and 1956, and kept growing through the 1980s. Jobs vanished, but new ones appeared. Economist David Autor found that 60% of today's workers are employed in occupations that didn't even exist in 1940, and more than 85% of employment growth over the last 80 years has been driven by technology creating entirely new positions. Economists describe this underlying dynamic as skill-biased technological change, the idea that technology doesn't eliminate work uniformly, but consistently raises demand for higher-skilled labor while hollowing out the middle. So the optimists have a strong case. Over 200 years, the pessimists have been wrong again and again, but the optimists need to reckon with something. This time might actually be different. On November 13th, 2022, OpenAI released ChatGPT.
OpenAI, creators of ChatGPT.
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 An investment in generative AI soared to nearly 8 times its initial figures. This wasn't automation replacing repetitive manual labor on a factory floor. This was AI writing legal briefs, generating marketing copy, answering customer service calls, and analyzing financial data. For the first time, the target wasn't blue-collar work. It was knowledge work, the very category of employment that previous waves of automation had created. MIT economist Eric Brynjolfsson, who co-authored Race Against the Machine and has spent decades studying automation's effect on labor, argues we may finally be approaching a transition that moves faster than our institutions can handle. The data since then has been staggering. Goldman Sachs published a landmark report estimating that generative AI could expose the equivalent of 300 million full-time jobs to automation globally. Roughly 2/3 of U.S. occupations face some degree of AI exposure, and of those, a quarter to half of their entire workload could be replaced. The IMF concluded that 40% of jobs worldwide will be affected, rising to 60% in advanced economies. The World Economic Forum's 2025 Future of Jobs report projected 92 million roles displaced and 170 million created by 2030. A net gain of 78 million jobs. The Bureau of Labor Statistics had similarly flagged that occupations involving routine cognitive tasks face the steepest exposure. That net positive number sounds reassuring until you look at what's underneath it. The jobs being destroyed and the jobs being created are not the same jobs. They don't require the same skills and don't pay the same wages. And they aren't in the same cities. A postal clerk in Ohio, whose role is automated by intelligent mail sorting systems, does not automatically become an AI prompt engineer in San Francisco. McKinsey estimates that as many as 375 million workers globally, roughly 14% of the workforce, may need to switch occupational categories entirely by 2030 as automation reshapes their industries. The impact on entry-level workers has been particularly brutal. Employment for software developers aged 22 to 25 has declined 20% from its late 2022 peak. Postings for entry-level jobs overall dropped approximately 35% since January 2023. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei has publicly warned that AI could eliminate roughly half of all entry-level white-collar positions within 5 years, and that most workers won't recognize the danger until their positions are already gone.
Dario, you've said that AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20%.
I really worry, particularly at the entry level. Yes, people will adapt, but they may not adapt fast enough, and so there may be an adjustment period.
Even Geoffrey Hinton, the so-called godfather of AI and 2024 Nobel laureate in physics, left his position at Google specifically to warn that the pace of AI development poses serious risks to labor markets and society that we are not prepared for. We're watching this play out right now. In the first quarter of 2026 alone, 78,557 tech workers were laid off, with nearly half of those cuts directly attributed to AI and automation. Meta announced plans to cut 8,000 employees and freeze another 6,000 open roles. Oracle reduced its workforce by 20,000 over the past year. Citigroup expects its headcount to drop by 20,000 as AI-enabled systems absorb middle office operations. And these layoffs aren't happening because these companies are struggling. They're happening so these companies can fund something else. A combined $700 billion bet on AI infrastructure. Then there's the Klarna story, which might be the most instructive case study we have. In 2024, Klarna replaced roughly 700 customer service roles with an OpenAI-powered chatbot. The AI handled 2.3 million conversations in its first month, and it looked like a triumph. But then service quality declined, customer satisfaction dropped, and by mid-2025, Klarna was quietly rehiring human agents. CEO Sebastian Siemiatkowski admitted, "We focused too much on efficiency and cost. The result was lower quality, and that's not sustainable." Cognitive scientist Gary Marcus named this pattern the Klarna effect, a loud, early win followed by a quiet reversal once reality catches up. Research firm Gartner now expects that by 2027, half of companies that cut staff for AI will rehire them, often under entirely new job titles. There's also a growing phenomenon called AI washing. Some companies cite AI as the reason for layoffs, when the real drivers are overhiring, declining revenue, or investor pressure. As OpenAI CEO Sam Altman himself acknowledged, there's some AI washing where people are blaming AI for layoffs they would otherwise do. Deutsche Bank analysts have predicted that AI redundancy washing will be a significant feature of 2026. So where does this leave us? The World Economic Forum has outlined two possible futures. In the first, called supercharged progress, widespread AI adoption and aggressive reskilling create new occupations fast enough to absorb the displaced workers. In the second, called the age of displacement, AI advancement outpaces humanity's capacity to adapt, and millions are left behind. Some economists and policymakers have begun seriously debating universal basic income, UBI, as a potential safety net for workers who fall through the cracks of that transition, a floor of economic security that doesn't depend on finding the next job before the last one disappears. Separately, the IMF's Skill Readiness Index points to Finland, Ireland, and Denmark as the countries best positioned to make that adaptation, nations that have invested heavily in lifelong learning. The OECD's Employment Outlook has similarly highlighted that countries with strong public reskilling infrastructure consistently outperform peers when navigating automation shocks. Workers who demonstrate AI proficiency already earn a 56% wage premium over their peers, up from just 25% the year before. IBM tripled its entry-level hiring in 2026, recognizing that cutting the pipeline of junior workers today means having no experienced managers tomorrow. For over 200 years, every wave of automation has ultimately created more work than it destroyed. But every single wave has also left behind people who couldn't make the transition fast enough. The question isn't whether AI will create new jobs. It almost certainly will. The question is whether we'll build the bridges fast enough for the people standing on the other side.